Welcome to the Panic Pod. This is episode 7, entitled Who Gets the Credit? I'm Joshua Fletcher, also known as AnxietyJosh. I'm a psychotherapist and author based in Manchester in the UK. And if you got up to episode 7, well done on enduring my voice. Who gets the credit for your anxiety passing? It's something I often ask clients, and it's something I've reflected on with me as well when I was going through anxiety disorders. Why is it an important question? I think it's one of the most important questions, and it follows up from the previous episode of why things don't work. Now, some facts about anxiety, particularly panic, or the panic that ensues because you fear panic, or the panic that ensues an intrusive thought, is that anxiety always ends. It does. There's a few stubborn people out there that are like, no, I've had anxiety 24/7 for 10 years, it never goes away. But I guarantee you there'll be windows of it going away. It's usually when we're distracted or when we're asleep. So it does go away. I want you to reflect in this episode, like when the anxiety does pass, albeit probably doesn't pass very often, or if it does, who or what is getting the credit for that? Now, back when I was anxious, and I didn't even think I had anxiety. Anxiety doesn't exist. What are you on about? I'm dead hard. I can go to work and whatever. Emotions are emotions, whatever. I remember when I developed anxiety and I entered the sensitized state. I went home. And I asked my mum to look after me, and I told work and stuff like that, and I genuinely thought I was going insane or something awful was going to happen. But if you even take that very first time, the threat response kicks in, bang, amygdala goes, whoosh, have all this adrenaline and cortisol, yeah, and we freak out and think like we're going crazy. When that initially passed or lowered, I realized that I didn't get the credit for that passing. Because of course I'm not. I'm freaking out. Can someone please reassure me that I'm okay? Same with OCD and intrusive thoughts. Like, oh, what if I go crazy? Or what if I have a heart attack? And so I would avoid doing things that make me feel, excitable or feel like I'm going crazy, like caffeine or alcohol, things like that. And same with like, what if I have a heart attack? I'd then not go up the stairs, or I would avoid doing things to not induce that scary intrusive thought. And throughout all of these, what's getting the credit for the anxiety passing? Well, I didn't become anxious or I became calmer because I avoided that movie about someone going insane, or I'm calmer now because I didn't do strenuous exercise, so my heart rate didn't go up. When I went home, and the anxiety came down a bit, so my home and my mum got the credit for me calming down. And this is really important. Who or what is getting the credit when your anxiety calms? If you have a magic mint or a benzo or something like that, and you're walking along or you're going on holiday and you feel anxious, and then so you have all these magic objects, and this is going to be the theme of today's episode, magic objects. If you have something that isn't you, that helps, in air quotes, to calm you down, what happens is these magic objects, and they could be people as well, or places, they start to get the credit for you calming down. And the brain starts to wire that way. So the threat response will go, okay, anxiety at the moment itself is the threat. I'm the threat response, and I'm also wiring to let you know that the threat response is a threat. That's why everything feels cyclical. And when that threat response calms down, the brain starts to wire to believe that you need external things to calm down. So this is the person who always has these safety protocols in place. Well, I will go out, but I can only do it if X, Y, Z. If you're agoraphobic, and you avoid going places, then the credit goes to you avoiding. Or if you do go to that place, well, I can only go there because my husband is there, and I'm sat near the fire exit, and I have my magic bottle of water. Then I can go. Well, did you get the credit for that? Well, some of you did, so well done. So if you are managing to do things with magic objects, that's great. But are you getting all the credit? No. So what happens the day you go to the movie theatre and only the middle seat is available? And then you forget your water. And then your husband has to get up to go to the toilet. You're going to start to feel panicky because we haven't learned that we are the people that can tolerate it. Getting the credit is so important. It's really nice when I work with clients and people who listen to this podcast or the Disordered podcast, and they say, "Oh, thanks to you or you guys, I'm okay now." And I'm very, very adamant when I say, "No, yes, we kind of guided you, but we don't want the credit for it. It was you." And there's some people that even listen to like these podcasts and stuff, and it helps you to calm down. And that's great, but these podcasts are informative for you to do the right thing, for you to learn that you're the person that should get the credit for calming down. It's really important, Very appreciative of people saying and declaring that, it's helpful. But ultimately, anxiety desensitization or recovery, how I feel about that word, is when I believe I can tolerate the most uncomfortable of feelings. You never enjoy them, you never accept them. There's a word that we'll talk about at some point, acceptance. It's just, I fully believe I can tolerate it. It feels like crap. It sucks. I feel scared. But I know it will pass, and I believe that I can utilize my attention during this time and allow it to pass quicker. Think about other things where you get the credit. Well, if I go into that scary place and start tapping my face and doing these rituals, then I'll calm down. Well, are you and your distress tolerance getting the credit? No. The crazy ritual is, and you stood in the middle of the park looking like you're doing the hacker or something. No, it's you. You have to get the credit. And it's quite insidious how anxiety, and particularly when we've got low self-esteem and things, sometimes refuses to give you that credit. So I know people and clients where they've done really scary things and their brain goes, well, I could only do that because there was a hospital within 10 miles away. Or I could only do that because my wife was nearby to save me if needed. Or I could only do that because I was only 5 miles away from my home, but if it was 6 miles, I couldn't have done that. You're not getting the credit. Often applies to agoraphobia, but everything. Like OCD, if you're having intrusive thoughts. The anxiety passed because I asked for reassurance. The anxiety passed because I asked AI to reassure me, and it did. Dr. Google told me something, and it gave me relief, and therefore that gets the credit. And the universal theme of a lot of compulsion-driven anxiety disorders are you not getting the credit. And I reiterate every time that you are the coping technique. You have to learn that you are the coping technique for anxiety, just like I had to many moons ago. I remember starting it. I went to a friend's house to watch a movie or something. And I'd said beforehand, right, I'm going to come round and intentionally feel anxious. Now, we don't fix it. I'm just practicing being anxious, and I'm going to try my best to watch the movie. My friends are like, yeah, okay, cool. It's all right. And doing little bits like that. I'm going for a walk. I'm going to intentionally feel anxious. I'm going to try and not compulsively going inwards. Oh, how do I feel? Whatever. No, it's okay. Don't need to do that. Back to where I was. Yeah, but I'm shaking. Doesn't matter. But the room feels so far away. I feel like I'm floating. Doesn't matter. This is what I'm practicing with to teach the amygdala because I want the credit. Then afterwards, which is really important, then you can tell people and be like, yeah, you know what? I did something really tricky there. Thanks for supporting me through that. And then that's when you can really reinforce that it's you. Another massive stumbling block to getting the credit is compassion. So if you're someone who regularly beats themselves up, has a raging internal critic, often that will get in the way of you getting the credit too. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do with an anxiety disorder is have the courage to stand up and say, no, I'm willing to give myself some credit despite not feeling optimal for a very long time now. I'm willing to be vulnerable. I've been doing this for so long, trying to get rid of vulnerable feelings and scary symptoms and scary sensations, that actually maybe I should turn it on its head a bit and start nurturing that compassion that I do have, but I need it for myself. And often anxious people are very compassionate and very empathetic, and they're the first person to not judge someone else and offer empathy and compassion and be very loving. But then you ask an anxious person to go inwards and do that to them for themselves, suddenly a wall goes up. That's one of the stumbling blocks. Don't be a hypocrite, and you're allowed to apply it to yourself. Doesn't mean you're being a narcissist or anything like that. It means that you're actually offering nurture that your mind, body, soul, whatever, is craving. So I challenge you. What can you get the credit for today? Is the aim to go and not be anxious somewhere? If you've got someone with a raging internal critic, you might get criticized for even being anxious. But I'm saying no. And as an anxiety therapist, the first thing I say to clients when they come in is, what have you managed to do whilst anxious this week? Because I know that's what rewires the brain. And if they come in and say, you know what, I did X, Y, Z, all whilst anxious. I took a shower whilst anxious. I was brushing my teeth whilst anxious. I drove to work whilst anxious. I did all these things. I played with my kids whilst anxious. I'm like, brilliant. How are the compulsions? Yeah, I was checking in now and then. I didn't like it, but you know what? I continued to drive towards what my values were, what non-anxious me was doing. And then I'd ask, were you anxious the whole time? Sometimes it's like, yeah, I was, but I noticed it came down. Sometimes it's like, completely forgot about it, which is great. And that's some really good brain rewiring on that. And they got the credit for it. They're not sat there with an ice pack on the neck going, playing Lego with their kids. Well, why would you do that? It's like, no, I can tolerate this. But I don't want to show my kids I'm anxious. Why not? No better lesson to teach your kids than showing them that vulnerability is okay, but then you can still do things anyway. Absolute nonsense. You take yourself out, you're not protecting your kids. You can show them a solid life lesson. And doing these things. Whereas biggest mistake a lot of clients make and people are anxious, they'll turn up to therapy and they'll be like, oh, I've done bad. I'm doing bad. I've been anxious all week. I'm like, no, that's not you doing bad. You have to be anxious, step one, in order to rewire the brain. It's what we're doing whilst anxious. That's the important lesson. Who's getting the credit? Start it with yourself. Now, you're really good at tolerating your anxiety. Just invite you to do it willfully. You've tolerated all anxiety up until now. And if you're unfortunately listening to me right now, then it's a fact, isn't it? You've managed to load up YouTube or whatever, and listen to this podcast, then you have tolerated everything up until now. I just ask you to tweak it a little bit. Do it willfully. Willful tolerance of uncertainty. That was a term by Sally Winston and Marty Seif that I've stolen and plagiarized and made my own. I'm joking. It's something from their books that I really enjoyed. Because it's really important. If I get anxious now, I don't like it. You're never supposed to like or accept anxiety. I don't even like the word acceptance. I'll talk about that in another episode. But just, can I get the credit for tolerating this? Gamify it if you have to. Whether it's an intrusive thought, panic attacks, agoraphobia, whatever. Can I get the credit for this lowering and ending? Then you're onto a right winner. Don't waste your time scrolling, giving money to supplements and all these things, going down Reddit forums, chatting to AI, doing us trying to find the magic fix, the magic cure, because there isn't one. And even if there was, it would be counterproductive, because you would never learn that you are the coping technique. You would just foster a reliance for the rest of your life on this external thing. Now, don't get me wrong, there are things that we have to foster reliances on. If you've got chronic illness, if you need medication, that's absolutely fine. But for anxiety disorders, no. You can do that. The distress tolerance and the willful tolerance of uncertainty is the way out. In my experience, anyway. It's only my opinion, but as someone who's been there and trained to be a therapist and stuff, and seen it for many years, that's the way out. It's not easy, but I want you to get the credit. And it's so important. So I invite you. Can you get the credit for tolerating anxiety today? Don't give any to me if my dulcet northern tones have given you some form of relief. That wasn't me. That was you choosing to focus on my words. So you get the credit. And you must continue to do that outside of doing things like this. Who gets the credit? We'll talk more about anxiety, and I'll pontificate and wax lyrical for many episodes of the Panic Pod. But what I will say is thank you for taking time, giving me your attention in a world where attention is sapping, and I really appreciate that. You can follow me online. I'm at AnxietyJosh. My website is School of Anxiety if you want to sign up to the newsletter. And yeah, there's all sorts of stuff on there. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time.